we're going to go ahead and have our last presentation of the day, and that will be from Ashley Harkness. And Ashley is going to talk to us today about finding club leads and creating new clubs. And we definitely want to hear what he has to say. He's always informative. So without further ado, I'm going to turn everything over to Ashley Harkness so that we stay on track. Ashley.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction. One of the most important things that we can do as Toastmasters is to share how wonderful it's been to be in Toastmasters. And how do we do that? Well, we do that by building clubs. Well, how do we build clubs? We build clubs by finding club leads. And it's been a very important part of what we do into our success. Toastmasters knows that every year clubs will go away. Toastmasters will go away. Finding new club leads and finding new clubs is a very important part of our responsibility as Toastmasters to keep our organization strong. And I have to tell you, finding club leads is a lot easier than you think. They are literally laying all over the place, and all you got to do is pick them up. We're going to talk about that. So I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay with you guys, because I have some stuff I want to show you. And basically, this is it. We're going to talk about finding club leads, and it's easier than you think, because we as Toastmasters, we build clubs. We build clubs because we know that that's going to help people achieve the greatest part of their success in life, to fulfill what their best dreams are. And we have an important part to play in that. So let's talk about, what do we do first? How do you find leads? I mean, are they really laying around on the ground for you to pick up? Well, it's not quite that easy. The first thing you want to do is get together with some people and form some teams. Maybe you're going to recruit some members of your club. This is not difficult. Just tell them you need some help. How about from your area and a council, from your area clubs? You are in an area council with your clubs, aren't you? Because that's how you can get everybody together and work together, especially like when you do contests. Now, your area and division director are all primed to help you with this. They have a lot of resources, and they know a lot of the insights of what's going on in the districts. They can be of help. So they become your team. Then the idea is to get together with these people at some point along the line, whether it's over pizza in a pizza parlor or on Zoom, and talk about it and do what I call is brainstorm. There's people out there with ideas on where we can do this. What tasks do we have to do? Where do we have to go? Is it possible to really find things in trade journals and newspapers? I mean, maybe. What about making those initial calls? Oh, my goodness gracious, I have to do a cold call? Oh. Well, actually, that's a lot easier than that. There's all kinds of resources that we have at our fingertips. I have a cold call script from this guy named Michael Notaro that he wrote in 2004. It is dynamite. Once you get them on the phone, they don't want to get off. And you sell them Toastmasters and start a club. So making those calls and then getting into the reports and stuff like that, they're all simple stuff. So the first question you have is, what kind of club are you going to try and form? Well, usually there are two kinds of clubs. We'll talk about the community club first. For me, when you have a community club meeting that you're organizing, you want to have more than 25 people there. And you need to tell them a couple of basic things, whoever the organizer is, that there's a certain amount of cost to it, but that's not onerous, it's not bad. Well, where are those clubs? Where's the possibility? Well, all over the place. Certainly, there are churches that would love to have their kids learn to be speaking better, and there are people. Then we have training programs for that. Garden clubs, all kinds of parents. I have known parents who want to have a Toastmaster club simply because they want their kids to improve in school. Why not? It works. Did you know that firemen sit in the station all the time and look at each other and talk about stuff. You can have a club there. Very easy. There's usually, every fire department station usually has 20, 25 people in it. Oh, there's colleges, country clubs, lots and lots of special groups. They're all over the place. So what do you offer them to begin with? Well, how about a speechcraft? Offering them coming in and I'll teach you how to do speaking. Oh my goodness gracious. 8 training sessions. And at the end of it, they've been trained to be in a Toastmaster club. They've already developed the habit. It's a natural. Bingo, you got them. And you can do it anywhere. Your community club is the key to it. That really starts really well with youth leadership courses, because the kids, they want to improve for their parents' sake. Their parents want them to improve too. And also, once the kids are in, you got the parents too. So you say, hey, parents, come to the meeting. And then after the meeting, well, why don't you guys start a club? Then you can keep it going with your kids. Oh, my goodness gracious. Now, Cassandra Cockrell, a district governor many, many years ago, said, one of the things that you have to remember in this community club business and also in the corporate club, what we're going to talk about, is everything you do when you first introduce it is a sell. You are literally selling them on this idea. They will pick it up because they know what's good for them, what will work for them. So where do you advertise? Well, anything that's free. One thing I like to do is to go to the bulletin boards in the like in the Starbucks or maybe in the laundromat, sometimes in the stores. I've also looked at leads where I can pick them up out of the newspaper, because typically they'll have calendars. I'm going to show you some of those in a little while and show you what they're. And if you don't take a newspaper, I'm talking about freebie papers that'll come to your house for no cost. Bingo. All right. So community clubs, that's one kind. But corporate clubs are a little bit different animal. You're dealing with a corporation whose goals are to basically improve themselves and their profits. Why not? So you're going to be building a partnership structure on this. And also you're going to be dealing with people who are in sales professional areas and technical professional areas where they may have to go make presentations. For instance, there's people around who have to go out as part of their career to speak in front of groups. I did this for years, and Toastmasters made it possible for me to succeed and do well. That's what you offer people when you're doing this. So where do you find them? Well, anywhere that are you near a business park? How about, are you near industries? Your corporations are literally everywhere. And they're really kind of easy to get into because they usually have training departments and they're very interested in what you've got. Oh, you can also say, hey, we have, believe it or not, a special corporate presentation about corporate clubs and the partnering structures. You can show this to them. This is something I have and you have, it's available to you. The key here is that when you find a lead, you're going to find them in different places that you're going to be having a lot of fun with that. So we're going to get into getting into that in a minute here. I'm going to take a drink of my soda. I'm drying out after an hour of talking. Okay, where to look? Current events, coming attractions. Anytime you see a notice in the newspaper or anywhere else about somebody who got promoted or moved, something like that, that's a lead. Okay, so what do? You could call their organization and simply say, I'm from Toastmasters International, and I'd like to talk to your human resources person. They'll usually connect you with that. They may say, what? Well, we got a cold call script that will take you all through that and answer questions as you go along through the way. That came from Michael Notaro. Who's in charge? Typically, the HR people. So this first call that you make to your lead, whatever it happens to be, is the thing you're going to be gathering information, because you want who they are, their names, information you can get from them. So knowing that this is how you're going to operate with getting leads, the next question is, where are you going to start looking? Well, the newspapers are my best source. I have a couple of them come to the house, but that isn't the only thing. The one that I rely on most is the Independent, which comes out in the Amador Tri-Valley. I'm going to show you a couple of pages of that and show you why. It's full of all kinds of things that you didn't even think about as a lead, Let's take a look at one of their pages. Now, I'm going to say, forgive me for the quality of the picture. I'm sorry, but I had to take a picture of their paper. However, look at this. Tri-Valley calendar of events, April 20th, Pride Week, free smoke alarm installation, call the artist. What's this? A Livermore Jazz Society? A jam session? That looks good. I'll bet you that's free too. Okay. K through 12 chess championships. Interesting. There's a lead in for a youth leadership right here. And over here, you never can tell what's going on. You might find something really interesting. Okay. Not all the leads are going to work, but this is the only place to look. On another page, they have a whole bunch of things. Here we have investment, clinical trials. No. Quilts of Valor. Wow, that's a group. I'll bet you could get in there. Unitarian Church Universalist. In the Thursday evening Dublin Farmers Market, you can pass out flyers. You can do all kinds of stuff with that, with your name and address on it and contact, so that they can say, oh yeah, I can do that. The downtown markets, ongoing things. These are free and they're out there for you. Is there more? Sure. There's places where they ask for you to support different charities. In one organization I'm in, we support Goodness Village right there. They have places where they can have homeless people come in and live and get back on their feet. The Amador Valley Quilters, who knows what they've got? That may be something. Lions Club, there they are. Friends of Pleasanton, the Senior Center, Monthly Miracles, Livermore Pleasanton Firefighters Foundation. Now, is that so hard? No, I don't think so. You can just circle these and say, hey, look, team, what do you think? Which ones will you take? And they'll jump right up and take it on. This is finding leads. We're getting close to it. Let's think about why we're even doing this. Why is it we're doing that? All this work. And yes, there will be disappointments. There will be leads that'll turn you down. There will be people who say, I'm not interested. Probably a lot of them. I did that for a while until I learned. That's another story, but not for now. So the reality is it gets easier because people want to talk. They'll talk about anything. They'll talk about their hobbies. They'll talk about their work, their families. They'll talk about anything. They'll talk about their employment. They'll talk about their community. What you have to do is just plug in. And half that time, that's one of the major skills of Toastmastering, called listening. Listen to what they talk about. And then say, why don't you just come over and visit what these guys? We got some other people over here that might like to hear about what you're talking about. Really? Yeah. Are you going to put the arm on me? Well, of course I am. Oh, okay. You're being honest about it. My point is that leads are great, but when you're getting them, keep up the motivation. Go back to your team and ask what's working, what didn't work. And that's also set a limit. You're not going to be doing this all day long, every day. You're not a salesperson doing it, but pick some times, keep some notes, and don't worry about it. This is an effort. It's going to take some time. Corporate clubs are easy to get, usually, because you get to the right person and they'll say, I like that. We're going to talk about that again in a little bit. But the community clubs take a little bit longer. You got to get out and do some advertising, connect with them. And of course, there's the rule of sevens. If you can get them to come into 7 things, or you can talk to them 7 times, typically, they'll not only answer your call, they'll start calling you. Remember what you're bringing to these people. Opportunity. People don't realize how much better it is in the world when they know how to speak and listen. Learning how to do evaluations is a skill that I took to work with me, and it made it successful. I had evaluations on people that were reporting to me, and they were glad they got the eval. They told me so. And I believed them. But you're part of a community that is showing fellowship with everyone else. I tell people when I go to a chartering meeting, which we're going to talk about in a minute, that I came to Toastmasters because I met some of the most interesting people in the world. You, doing the most interesting things in the world, what your passion is about. And you are communicating with me. I got a chance. to do something I couldn't do anywhere else, except in Toastmastering. And with that, you will achieve the success you want. Now, I know you're saying, he knows how to do everything. No, I don't. I don't know how to do everything. But I can tell you this. I can tell you this. When you do Toastmastering, you're looking for leads, you also get a chance to answer questions, which is I'm going to ask right now. Anybody got a question? I don't see that. I don't have the chat going, so let me get the chat out.
I do. It came up.
What's the question?
It came up in the chat that there's an alliance between Rotary and Toastmasters, and I've read bits and pieces about that. And I'm a little concerned about alliances with other organizations. Can you describe what Rotary does for us in the context of chartering new clubs?
In the context of chartering new clubs, I'm not so sure that they are doing anything for us, like bringing leads to us or anything like that. But very often you can approach a Rotary club and ask them if they are interested in becoming a Toastmaster club too. Whether they'll do that or not, I'm not sure. However, the reason that Toastmasters, as I understand it, went to Rotary was that they could make contacts in the business community, because Rotary is very much into that. And what you do with those contacts, well, that's up to you. That's the key point there. But the idea is that you're making another outreach into the community with what you have. Does that answer your question, Mari? Okay, good.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Betty.
Hi. If you find someone who's interested in starting a club, how do you get them to be self-sufficient, or is that something that you have to be involved in continuously?
Well, I'm going to be talking about building clubs and the chartering meeting that you will invite them to. That's going to be in the session that comes up right next when I get through with the questions here, because I've got you for another 20 or so minutes. And building clubs and how to charter them and what that's all about is a very important part of that. But more than anything else, you are an ambassador for Toastmasters. And when you have someone who comes up and asks you a question like that, Betty, all you have to do is say, well, you know what? Why don't you come to Toastmasters? Come for your hopes and dreams. Come for an opportunity to change the world, maybe. That kind of worked for me. I had a guy walk up to me after I made a presentation at work, and he said, well, Ashley, you're pretty good, but you could be better. Why don't you come with me to Toastmasters and see how much better you can become? I did. I'm still here. It works because you're the best ambassador there is for Toastmasters. I can tell you that for sure. Yes, we have a question. Linda.
Actually, we have more of a comment about Rotary. I believe this go round, the alliance with Rotary is around the Speakers Bureau, not around starting new clubs. And it was giving Toastmasters the opportunity to speak at Rotary meetings. So that's the interesting linkage right now.
So Toastmaster gets a chance to get outside of their club and speak in a professional environment. Wow, what an opportunity.
But you got to be a
That's
member
cool.
of the Speakers Bureau.
Well, Speakers Bureau, no problem. We all know about Toastmasters. We can get involved in Speakers Bureau.
Exactly.
That's another thing. Okay, I am at this point going to transition over to building clubs. We build clubs. That's what it's about. So give me 1 second here to start that up, and then we will do that. Okay, here we go.
There's still a hand up.
Oh, there's a hand up. Who's got the hand up?
It's just me.
Justin. Okay, Justin, what's your question?
How's it going? It may be not an answer that you can address, but with many of the clubs now going in person, is that a big effort now this year? Now that folks want to see each other in person, and that's really a big effort that's going to happen this year. Do you know?
Well, I think in-person meetings is a big effort all the time, because the most fun you have in Toastmasters, as far as I'm concerned, is not on the television. It's meeting people and getting to know them, shaking their hands, and actually being with people. And that's a great thing. And when we lost that because of COVID, it was very hard. It was hard. Only we had to be on video. But the fact of the matter is, Toastmasters is going to be saying, look, whatever you can do to help people achieve their dreams through Toastmasters will work. And if that's a hybrid meeting, in-place meeting, or only a Zoom meeting, do what you have to do to reach out to people, because there's so many people who want to speak. So Justin, I think that you should do that and make sure that you reach out. And when you say, look, you can come to our meeting or in virtual meeting, or you can come to it in downtown Oakland, it's I know where you're meeting. So I don't think there's any restrictions on it. I think their encouragement is the total program. Does that answer your question, Justin?
It does. Thank you, Ashley.
Okay. Greg raised his hand. Greg, what can I do for you?
Thoughts on using LinkedIn or LinkedIn Navigator?
I couldn't hear you. Could you repeat that, please?
Thoughts on using LinkedIn or LinkedIn Navigator to narrow down your search?
My feeling on that is multimedia is out there for us to use in any way that we can that makes it work for us. And so if it's LinkedIn and that helps, great. The point is that there's a lot of avenues for finding leads, and then you have to learn how to do it to really accomplish that, getting through the gatekeeper and all of those kinds of things, whatever works. Now, I would ask you that when you have your experience with LinkedIn, come back not only to the next TLI, but to the clubs, and maybe even to get a slot at one of the district executive meetings and give a report on how successful you were. Because we don't want to keep this stuff secret. We want to grow the district. We want to bring the Toastmasters to everybody. Does that make sense?
It does for me, because we're an international club, and I'm thinking that LinkedIn would probably be the best way to reach people at a global level.
Yes, for my money, the best thing that ever happened to us was when we became international, for real. I mean, I'm in a club where there's one lady coming in from Ho Chi Minh City, and another club where we were having a member coming in from Gabon in Africa.
Yeah.
Think about it. Think about the outreach.
It's interesting.
Thank you, Greg.
It's an interesting dynamic when you've got folks from all over the world participating.
Oh, yes. What do you have? You have a question. Your hand's up.
Thank you very much. I just want to get one answer. If somebody is the member of Toastmaster and he want to build a business, and in addition, you mentioned that Rotary Club is like give us the opportunity to the business class people, My question is, you guys have any program can lead toward the business, like to the Rotary Club for the training program? Because the reason why I ask you, I am the president of a professional engineer California government in the Bay Area, and we also have a consortium with FedPAC. Also, we have one is a PAC, and in addition to that, we have a Fed. So we can get access on the state level. We can get access to the federal level also. So do you have anything, if somebody want to build a business, for instance, if I go for a business, what is your recommendation, and do you have any plan in regard to the member of the Toastmaster to get access to the Rotary Club, to get a contact with the business community? Thank you.
Well, actually, we have a lot of contacts with the business community. They know we're out there. Many of the clubs have members that are active in different organizations. And so, yes, for instance, I know that there are Toastmasters who are in the IEEE, International Electrical and Electronic Engineers, and also in the Society for a lot of the engineering societies. They are aware of that. It slips my mind, thinking off the cuff here. But the key is that if you're interested in finding out what the activities are and what the opportunities are, I would suggest that you start talking to some of the district officers about what they're running into when they go to conferences with other district officers. They will then ask that kind of thing. Another part of it is you could call Toastmasters International directly and ask that question to them. How do I get a hold of these different organizations? Do you have a list? They can help you very much to put you right into it. They're great people back there. They are a wonderful, wonderful resource. Now, I know I haven't answered your question completely, but I think I've given you some insights on where you might go. I hope that works
Thank
out.
you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Bashaki, you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. I belong to a specialty club, and typically we don't want the person off the street because they require to have some level of speaking or some, comfortability in speaking in front of an audience. I belong to Laugh Lovers. Typically, we get the person off the street and they say, it's a little intimidating. So our ideal member are experienced Toastmasters. And I'm wondering if you could give us or give me some tips and tricks on how to get those types of members.
Well, first of all, I know a lot about Laugh Lovers. I was in Laugh Lovers for a long time in the early days when it was around. But the question you have is a club, as a person who comes to the club and there's not already a Toastmaster, what do you do with them? Because they don't know how to be a Toastmaster. And in a case like that, I would say, first of all, don't turn them away. Don't turn them away. Because even sitting in a room listening and watching is a learning situation that you don't want to lose out on. And the Toastmasters meetings all run approximately the same way. They open, they close, they have officer reports, they do things, they give speeches. Come on, that's an education of itself. However, you might also recommend to them, after talking to them about what they want, is to say, well, why don't you try a Toastmaster club that isn't a specialty club? Maybe you don't really want to be in a Huber club or a Laugh Lover type club, but try that. And then say, but come back and tell us how it worked out. In other words, you're not throwing them out. You're saying, go somewhere else, check it out, and come back and tell us how it was, because we're interested in making sure that you have success. Now, you're going to do this on a basis of who that person is. So I'm going to say, good luck. And if they want to come back to your club and join, don't turn them down, because they'll learn something about Toastmasters and themselves and how the world is much better if they can make people laugh like you guys do. Seriously, folks. Okay, Linda, do you have another question?
No, I had another comment, and it has to do with in-person versus Zoom versus hybrid. And being your PQD and living in Columbus, if we did everything in person, you can imagine how many members we have in District 57 who don't live in the Bay Area and yet are vital members of this district. They bring je ne sais quoi, they bring a vibrancy, they bring a different perspective on Toastmasters, the world, speaking, and whatever. And I think we would be a poorer district if we went totally in person. I think we have to recognize the value that this little box gives us and allows us to be more than we would be just if we were in person. So that's just, I'm sorry, my philosophy. And I got to stand up on my soapbox and talk about the fact that, yeah, I live several thousand miles away from you. Thank you.
Actually, I was trying to join a Toastmaster club in Tokyo, and I didn't have much success, but I was thinking that could work, because we have become an international organization, and there is no way you put that genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, finally, we are actually international. We called ourselves Toastmasters International, but we really weren't. Now we are.
I've got a question here that came up in the chat from Siri Smith. And the question is, what is the Speakers Bureau? Well, years ago, a club formed called Speakers Forum. And the idea was that they would be offering people the opportunity to go out into the community to do speeches. Now, the speech could be something that the people want, a special topic, or it could be something that they do on their own. But they would gain opportunity to do this. And they wouldn't make any money on it necessarily, but the key was that they get this experience. Speakers Bureau eventually morphed into Speakers Forum, which is an active club that meets on Saturdays in Fremont. And I would say you might want to go and just check them out. I think they're still virtual, and you can look them up and see what this is about. It's an opportunity to up your game into the professional world. Okay, so.
Thank you.
Pardon?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Ashley, they're actually hybrid. They have both online and in person. And as I said to Siri Smith, we have a speakers bureau. Some of the people you see here are in that speakers bureau. You can get that on d57tm.org. But I didn't have my hand up. However, Dee Marie did. So I'm going to be quiet.
Okay, who's next?
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment. What I have found is I just recently did speaking at a community college, and I was apprehensive at first speaking to a group of young kids. I had spent time trying to think of some pop expressions to start out with. I started to go in a pair of jeans with the thighs cut out, and all of a sudden I said, no, I need to be my authentic self. So the very first thing that I said when I started speaking was, I spoke to them and I said, I know you're wondering what this woman has to say to you. I'm wondering the same thing about you. How are you going to be receptive to what I have to say? And are you going to be open-minded and give me an opportunity to change the course of your life? And it was over. I got 2 people who wanted to join Toastmasters. You could have heard a pin fall while I was speaking. I had come prepared with an evaluation form for them to evaluate the speech and the speaker. And everybody said excellent, except one person that said average. So it was a phenomenal experience. And I got 2 people who want to join Toastmasters. Just be yourself and tell your story.
Excellent advice. Thank you very much, Dee Marie. That is great. Okay. And Dee Marie is coming in from Nashville. Is that right?
Nashville, Tennessee. And that was one of the first speaking engagements that I did in person in Nashville, because upon becoming a DTM on June 30th, I will rebrand myself in the local area. And one of the things that I will be doing is touching bases with the Rotary clubs. So I am excited about that.
Fantastic. Well, we've covered a lot of things about leads, but now that you got the leads, what are you going to do with them? Well, the next question is, how do we build a club? Building a club is a different thing. Excuse me. Building a club isn't like a normal Toastmaster meeting that you go to, because the people in the audience, they don't kind of know that, what's going on. So you have to look at it in a little bit different way. Right now, I'm going to show things about building clubs, if I can stop coughing. All right. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go on to building why we build clubs. Simply put, we build clubs because that builds not only Toastmasters, but it builds the world of communication. And we want to be a part of that. We want to guide it. Okay, so in this coming session, we're going to look at some things. Basically, the how and the why of chartering the clubs. We'll look at some of the documentation, but not all of it. We'll talk a little bit more about leads, and then some chartering timelines that go along with this, because this is a special activity, and you need to be aware of how that works so that it works fine. But we're going to go a little bit on our experience. We want to talk about things we have done and things we're looking at. The area directors, the division directors, and the club members themselves have to realize that our goal is to build and expand Toastmasters. And to do that, we build clubs by developing leads, we charter new clubs, And we want those clubs to all be president's distinguished, because clearly that shows that they're doing the education program and they're doing all the things to manage the club correctly. This is very important. Oh yes, it goes along hand in hand with going to training and everything else. So when we get to a chartering meeting, we have to announce that we are here to charter. Now, you've got your lead and you organize a group of people, 25 or more, let's say, and you come in and we're here to charter today, not next week. We want to do it today. And everything we do in that meeting, which is a demonstration meeting, is to encourage people. And so, yes, it is a sell. That's what this is about, because we want to end at the end of this meeting with the charter in hand and ready to go. We'll have all the documents. And one more thing, in a chartering meeting, whatever you do, however you do it, they're going to do it that way forever. I can guarantee you that's true, because you're showing them how to do it. So your table topics, your speeches, the flow of the meeting, whether you have agendas, all of those critical points, very important. Get them right. Make sure you got what you want, because that's what they're going to do forever. Oh, and incidentally, because you're a chartering member, you're going to be invited back whenever they have anniversaries or celebrations. They know who you are and they want you to come back. So let's go on. First of all, the chartering team basically is who is you're getting involved, and that is somebody from the company they're dealing with or the group. And if they're from human resources, you want to give them an opportunity to introduce you. And that works. They'll say, we've got these people coming in from Toastmasters. We think that they're going to be helpful to us. Great. Hand it off, Mr. Toastmaster. The Toastmaster needs to be an experienced person who's a trained meeting moderator and somebody with chartering experience. This is not difficult to get, but the key is they know what's going to happen and they have a limited amount of time to get to the game at the end, which is to end up with the charter. They present and track the meeting agenda. This is very important because you're dealing with a bunch of people who maybe they've been in a meeting where the boss does all the talking and talks forever until the food at the lunch table is ice cold. Or they've actually been in a better meeting than that. Ask me how I know about the cold food, but not right now. So the chartering team consists of a speaker who gives us a speech about how Toastmasters improved their life. Now, this isn't your normal, I'm going fishing in a boat speech. This is a speech to show the benefit Toastmasters had been to that particular individual. I usually talk about three things. I met the best people in the world. I got to go places I didn't expect, and it made my career so much better. That's when I do that speech. This is a 5 to 7 minute speech. The table topics that is used in that speech are called softballs. They come from what we have is called a member profile letter, where we hand out this piece of paper, ask them to fill it out, and it has a bunch of questions. What do you expect to find when you've gotten better speaking skills? What is it do you think you're going to get out of this? Don't you want your ideas to have a better presentation where you work? Those are softball questions. And we give them back to them and ask them, come up. Oh yes, people are hesitant. They'll come up and be shy, but that's okay. Everybody in the room is on the same boat. Everybody is going the same direction. And these softballs encourage them to understand we're not going to ask them to, please give us the square root of pi to 27 places. No. Okay. The chartering team will also have a speech evaluator. The speech evaluator demonstrates to the group that the evaluations are not harsh, but they are sensitive and educational. They're there to support and to help and make it better. And the key here is to make sure that the evaluator can then pick out important points of the speaker's speech to say, and I noticed that the speaker did this and that. Did you hear that he used vocal variety? And he was also keeping track of his eye contact, simple things. And the people in the audience will go, that's good. I see that. Yeah, okay. You make them feel much better. Of course, you're not going to ask them to get up and make a speech. Then comes the closer. Any chartering meeting has to have a closer that brings you to the goals for which you came, which was chartering the meeting. And this means you've completed the organization of the meeting, which maybe you've assigned club officers. That can be done very easily. You can find a club name, and then you set up when the meetings are going to be for the next 3 meetings, because you need to develop the habit of attending a Toastmaster meeting. Tell me that you didn't have to do this yourself as Toastmasters. I don't think so. Establish those meetings, and they have to be in the same room that you're in now, at the same time, in the same day of the week. All of these are establishing the habit. There are a few other things that go along with this chartering business. You need to have a prepared agenda that you can fill in names if you need to. It's got to be simple, can't be too complex. Also, have handouts. Toastmasters has a ton of handouts that you can get for free. And you should even have them around at your meetings for guests. Why not? You might have an introductory PowerPoint. I have one that goes through some of the parts of the meeting for people who haven't really known what they're getting into. It even talks about the costs to the individual and to the company where it's supported, if it's a company support. And I've been challenged on that about, well, are you going to really talk about money in a chartering meeting? Of course you are. Everything in this world has some kind of monetary value, and you don't want to leave that out and surprise them. Oh yeah, by the way, we've got to have $40 from everybody here. What? No, up and up. And talk about the things that might come up. You might have something unexpected happen. As Toastmasters who have been through this meeting before, that's not a problem. Now, meeting structures and how they go, you can get those from some of the chartering mechanisms that Toastmasters has. Let's go on to a little bit more about this. How do you end the meeting? This is very important because, first of all, you want to gather in all of the completed documents. There's about 6. Now, you're not going to pass them around amongst the members. That's going to be between you and the officers or whoever the sponsor of the club is. That's all right. But before you leave the room, you want those things. You want to have the member interest profiles, because that one sheet has their name, email, contact information, and also ask some questions of them and what they're looking for Toastmasters. You're actually telling them what you're going to give them. And after the meeting's done, you sit down with everybody else has probably gone back to work or gone off to where they're going. You look over the chartering documents, and if they're ready, you send them into Toastmasters International with the money, and they send back in about a week, here's your club number, here's your information, and you're off to the running. You've already set up the next 3 meetings. Everybody knows where they're going to be, what the time is. They also know what's going to happen, because anything they see in this meeting is the same as everything else. The key point to it is you're operating in the area of opportunity. That's what this is. The members who are sitting there, the future members of Toastmasters, will remember everything that happened in this meeting, see it happening consistently, and they'll be Toastmasters for years and years. And I can tell you right now, they will come up and thank you for this opportunity to make their lives the better lives that they always wanted. Absolutely. Now, this is a simplification of what we've got going here. Yes, and I know it isn't covering every single thing, but that's okay. We now have time for questions. Are there any questions out there? Oh, yes, Jeff Young.
Not trying to be a troublemaker, but what do you do when you're trying to get the demo meetings to 20 people and it's not there yet? How do you get people from the 15 or 16 all the way out to the 20 plus?
Good question. Thank you very much for that. Wow. I kind of expected that from you. Here it is. Let's say that you had 25 people scheduled to show up, and only 15 or 16 showed up. Then you say, okay, at our next meeting for next week, make sure that you bring all your forms back, okay? And also talk to those people that didn't make it today, and maybe grab a couple of extras and bring them in. In other words, this meeting is not the end. And you say, okay, and that makes you make sure that you're going to keep the people you have and bring in the other ones that didn't come. And that's how it works. Now, if you go to the next meeting and only 18 show up, you do the same thing. And you say, well, you know, we need to have 20. Toastmasters really wants to have 20 people there. They know that's the greatest success factor. So next meeting, okay, they've already been to 2 meetings now. They're coming to a 3rd. They're developing the habit. Everything's working. People are giving speeches. It's all going on. Make sure you grab that guy in the next cubicle over there and say, look, put that lunch down and come on down to habits. This is gonna be much more beneficial for you. It's, you know, keep on your feet and remember that you roll with the punches. These punches aren't that bad. Great question. Did I answer it? Shake your head yes. Okay, there we go. Anybody else? I'm not seeing everybody who's here, so speak up.
You have a few in the chat.
Okay, who's going to? If we are 18, can we have 2 existing Toastmasters? Are you talking about an individual members, or can you join at 18? So Shalini, come in and tell me more about what your question is.
So last year I tried to do a new club. We went up to 18 members. We were 2 members short, and I was wondering, for a new club, do all of them have to be new members, or can the other 2 be existing Toastmasters who want to join this new club?
That's great. That's a good question. They don't all have to be new members, but there is a limit on how many existing Toastmasters can be in part of the chartering process. And I believe it's 2, but I'll have to defer on that question because I don't have that answer right in front of me. 3.
Yeah, actually, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, Ed said, yeah.
Yeah, but yes.
Okay.
And having a couple of Toastmasters, existing Toastmasters with experience in the club is a very, very good idea, because not only do they know how it works, they have their hands on the resources of Toastmasters and know where to get things. This is a very important part of it. A club that is just forming and then they don't have the immediate participation by let's say the sponsor or the mentor, that's a club that's in trouble right away. You got to be in there to keep them going. It's, you know, and it works. We just chartered a club, a place called Biopharma. And when I got up as part of the chartering team, they said, can you give us a better understanding of what a speech evaluator is? Well, now that's an interesting question. In places where you have reports and have to evaluate or be evaluated, maybe this is not necessarily a wonderful situation. And we have evaluators in this? Oh my God, No, I said, evaluations are how well you did on your speech and some ideas on things you might use to improve. It's a very easy thing to do because you don't have to give a long-winded explanation. Just say, I liked your speech. I really liked what you did, Nesrin. That speech was perfect for me. However, I think next time, I got a hunch you could put more vocal variety into it, and it would even be better for you. You get it? So you defer the fear and make them feel better about it. Now, if you can't get enough people, keep coming back. Keep asking them. The people who come are interested. You don't want to disappoint them. So, Aga, you have a question. Your hand's up.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to share one thing with you because sometimes we are facing the problem as a president of the club. COVID-19 was happened March 20, 2020. Because I am serving the second time as a president of the club. And the second thing is a lot of people are retiring, so we are losing members. In that circumstances, what do you suggest, as a president, what he should, because, I already indicated the scenario, because we are facing COVID-19 economic crisis and a lot of members are losing and a lot of people are retiring. And the time limitation, the same, they want to do some time to the family. Under those circumstances, what is just one word, what is your suggestion? What is your better advice, as a president, we need to do?
I always ask, as being a club president, who have you talked to about your Toastmaster experience? And then maybe I get a person up and say, well, who, for 1 minute, tell me who you talked to just recently about Toastmasters, especially when you are beginning to lose clubs. And if they say, well, we're not, you go, well, okay, why is that? Ask a question. It's easy. People will talk to one another, especially about what they're doing. And if I came to your office and sat down with you and said, okay, well, we're done with this, but I want to tell you something. I just had this great experience at this Toastmaster career. He says, yeah, you're always talking about them guys, aren't you? I said, well, the reason being is that I get a chance to do things in there that I don't get a chance to do in a lot of other places. Like here? Well, yeah. I'd like to be one of those speakers at that technical conference you're organizing. What I'm saying is that every opportunity to talk about Toastmasters and the success you have is an opportunity to encourage somebody else to either come or bring somebody else. And you never can tell. Here's something I'm going to get in trouble about. If you're losing members, go visit another club and see if anybody wants to have a dual membership. Oh, did I really say that? Woo, okay, I have to leave now. Let's go over and talk to Justin. Justin, get me off the hook here. Justin, what's your question?
Hey, Ashley.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
The question is, and maybe you already spoke about this because I did walk away for a short time, what a mentor and what a sponsor is. But the question is, in the clubs that I saw as successful in starting, we usually had a mentor and or sponsor as part of the chartering team. And from your experience, did you see that as more effective in getting clubs chartered as well?
Yes, absolutely. If you can get 2 mentors and 2 sponsors there at the chartering meeting, not only do they get an opportunity to maybe meet the other people and speak, but it shows the commitment of these people that they're going to be with them. In other words, they're not on their own, getting into the boat and learning how to row. So yes, having that and getting the sponsor, the mentors, is actually a very tough job because a lot of people are busy, but there are rewards in Toastmasters through the pathways for the people serving in these roles. So I would suggest you talk about that and see what happens. Again, if you're in a low member club, especially in your area, and this goes out because I just had some experience with this month. Just go out to the other areas, the other clubs in your area, and ask them to come and visit. Fill the chairs. I did that once in Division F years ago, and I brought in about 20 people into a club that only had 4 people left, and they were amazed. I said, "Didn't you know there are Toastmasters out here who want to see you succeed?" And they'll come and visit, and maybe they'll do a speech and take the load off of you. But the key is that reach out. You're in an area. There's an area council. There are other clubs around. Talk to them and say, hey, how about coming over and visiting our club? Maybe we'll learn something new. Maybe you will too. Does that help?
Yeah, no, it does. And if I know along the path of hitting your distinguished Toastmaster, I believe it was also a requirement to be a sponsor or mentor. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but just wanted to bring that up.
It's one of the rewards that's out there. Yes, it is. You can look it up. Well, we're coming down to 4 minutes to the top of the hour. I want to thank you all for being here. I think there's an evaluation form for this presentation. And think about this. Everywhere you look, there are leads laying around waiting for you to pick up. And every lead that you turn into a club and get a chartering team to make it go is an opportunity to make this a much better world for you, for the members, and for everybody else. I look forward to your activities. I'll be looking around for leads and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, go back to your clubs and tell them how great it was that you came to this TLI and learned these things. And if you even invite me, I might come.